The voice is 6 seconds long. It says, "Do not answer the last name." I found it inside the Reservoir film from the previous archive, the silent 8mm reel that carried sound where no soundtrack should have existed. At first I thought the sentence was the entire recording. It was not. When I separated the pulse beneath it, the same 6 seconds opened into 43 minutes of overlapping instructions, different speakers, different distances, all counting toward the same number, 18,411. The count never reaches it. The reel arrived in the unaddressed package documented in Archive 04. Its picture showed an ordinary picnic beside Bellwether Reservoir. No camera model was visible, but the frame dimensions and perforations were consistent with a silent home movie cartridge. There was no magnetic stripe, no optical soundtrack, nothing a projector could have played. The sound appeared only after I scanned the narrow, clear band beside the image at high resolution. Under magnification, that band contained faint variations in density, too irregular to be lettering, too consistent to be film damage. Converted into a waveform, they produced the voices. That does not mean the film recorded sound. My best explanation is that someone exposed the band later, using the reel as storage for a signal that had already been captured somewhere else. The reel case supplied the next piece. Beneath its cardboard liner was a flat aluminum service canister I had missed during the first inspection. It carried no address and no real agency mark, only a fictional Boundary Survey Authority inventory code, the reservoir symbol, and 3 handwritten initials, M.V. Mara Venn, the former records clerk whose voice interrupted the 18th name in the school attendance tape. The canister held a calibration strip and 6 pages of maintenance notes for Sounding Unit 4. A sounding unit is normally simple in principle: send a pulse through water, measure the return, calculate distance. The BSA notes describe a machine built for something else. Its transducer was lowered beside the reservoir's eastern intake shelf, where the old county road disappeared below the waterline. The printed depth columns had been crossed out. In their place were 3 headings: voice position acknowledged. The first test is dated 6 days before the 1987 relocation. Unit SIF transmitted a single pulse. The return contained a woman reading an evacuation route. The second test returned 2 voices. By the final night, the operators logged more voices than the equipment could separate. I rebuilt only the non-operational parts of the calibration process. No real sonar software, alert tone, or dam control method is shown here. The interface on screen is a reconstruction based on the fictional notes. At 2:17 in the recovered sequence, the noise resolves. Then another voice begins reading names. The names are not a passenger list. Some match the surnames attached to the future attendance roster from Archive 02. Others appear in the relocation ledger recovered from broadcast 217. Most are too damaged to identify. After every name, a second speaker answers with a number. The numbers rise toward 18,411, the population the BSA claimed to have relocated from Bellwether County. But the sequence stops at 18,410. There is a pause long enough for one more response. Then Mara Venn says, "Do not answer the last name." This changes what her interruption at the school meant. I previously believed Venn was refusing a person. The maintenance notes suggest she was refusing a completed position. Every BSA record in this archive treats a person, a route, and a destination as parts of the same index. Complete the index, and Bellwether can attach its border to whatever the record describes. Venn left one position unanswered, not empty, unresolved. That distinction may be the reason the county could be removed from maps without disappearing completely. There is another pattern in the voices. The evacuation instructions occur in 2 layers. The nearer voices direct families away from Bellwether. Leave the school by the north doors. Avoid the water tower road. Use Vale Tunnel only when the marker lamps are dark. The more distant voices reverse each instruction. Return to the school. Follow the tower. Enter the tunnel when all 6 markers are visible. Neither layer sounds like a live announcement. The phrases are repeated with small changes. as though the reservoir is testing which version the listener remembers. This resembles the changing exits on Iona Rusk's recovered route record. Vale Tunnel did not simply move her through time. It compared her journey against several possible versions of the county. Unit 4 may have been doing the same thing with the evacuation, preserving both the order that removed people from Bellwether and the inverse order that could bring them back. One sentence never changes between the layers. The phrase does not refer to a line of people. Each time it is spoken, the name sequence resumes at the exact place where it stopped. The order itself is the important object that makes the missing final response more than a clerical gap. If the sequence were completed, the return instructions would have a full population attached to them. Venn did not destroy the return route. She removed its last destination. The last maintenance page is not a test log. It is a correction written in Venn's hand. Ledger divided. Upper half to school archive. Lower half below east intake shelf. No complete copy. In archive 02, the torn attendance ledger carried one instruction: hide half beneath water. Until now, I treated that as a way to conceal evidence. It was more precise than that. Paper above the reservoir could be found, scanned and indexed. Paper below the intake shelf remained physical, local, and difficult to connect to anything else. The water did not erase the record. It kept the two halves from becoming one searchable object. Unit 4 was stationed over that missing half. The voices in its returns may not be people trapped beneath the reservoir. There is no evidence of that, and nothing in the recovered material describes bodies or a disaster. The better supported explanation is stranger. The water preserved the relationship between the names, the routes, and the evacuation instructions without allowing the BSA's system to finish counting them. The reservoir was not a grave, it was offline storage. Near the bottom of the page, Venn added a second correction in smaller writing. Unit must not hear its own return. That warning explains the reel. Someone copied a short section of Unit 4's output into the clear band of the home movie. Film could carry the pressure pattern without feeding it back into the sounding unit. The picnic images were camouflage, ordinary family footage wrapped around a record that could not safely be replayed near its source. But I had already digitized it. I had already isolated the pulse, reconstructed the calibration table, and played the return through speakers in my workspace. The route record from Archive 03 lists that workspace as the current destination of Bellwether's custodian. The unaddressed package proved something could follow that route physically. By restoring the reservoir signal, I may have connected the missing ledger to the destination Bellwether already knows. I stopped the reconstruction at 43 minutes and disconnected the playback system. Unit 4 itself was never in the package. Only its notes and calibration strip were present. There was no transmitter in the room, no transducer, and no water deep enough to carry a return. 3 minutes after shutdown, the recording interface detected one additional pulse. It did not come through the audio input. That input was physically disconnected. The pulse appeared as a new density pattern on the last scanned frame of the reservoir reel, a frame I had already scanned twice. When converted using Venn's table, it contained no evacuation route and no list of names. One voice said a single word, custodian. Then a second voice answered, position acknowledged. The count beneath the reservoir still stops at 18,410. I have not attempted to recover the missing ledger, and I will not reconstruct the absent final name. For now, one position remains unresolved, but Bellwether may no longer need the name. It may have found a role that can stand in its place. This has been an original fictional report from the Bellwether Transmissions. The agency's records, locations, voices and events depicted here are invented. Realistic synthetic visuals and audio may be used in production.